Hey guys, Jonathan here, and with Daredevil Born Again Season 1 having just wrapped, I thought it would be fun to do a giant video combining all of the videos I've done over the last several weeks to show you how to build every single character from the show from episode 1 through the season finale. Now, like I said, as the weeks have gone on, I've been doing these, and some of the figures upgraded as we went along and got better looks, so it is really fun to look back at this and see how everything's evolved over the last couple weeks. Anyway, let me know what you thought of Daredevil Born Again. That season finale was unbelievable. We are so back, baby, and I cannot wait to see where season 2 goes next year. That being said, let's get into the video now and start breaking it all down. We'll start off with Matt from the very first episode, but to be honest, his outfits are kind of a lot darker this season than seasons past, so to build this, thankfully, it's all pretty common parts. We've got a short stick here for his walking stick, then black legs and the torso from Bruce Banner from 2023's Infinity Saga Hulkbuster, then the head comes from the original 2012 Hawkeye with some flat top brown hair. Next up, we've got Karen Page and Rest in Peace Foggy. Oh my gosh, that first episode was traumatizing. How could they kill Foggy? Oh my god. Anyways, okay, to build these, thankfully, both are pretty simple once again. The legs and torso for Karen come from the mom from the Home Alone set, where the head and actually the hair come from Hermione from Lego Dimensions. So thankfully, pretty cheap and relatively easy to find pieces. The Home Alone mom, that torso will probably go up over time because I believe it was only used in that set. But regardless, jumping over to Foggy here, I went with something a little bit more casual with the torso and legs from one of the Weasley twins from the Harry Potter CMF series. The head is from Aquaman from DC with some regular hair to finish the look. And I think that both of these turned out really, really good. Okay, so Daredevil was actually only in the episode for a little bit at the beginning there, but man, does that suit look good on camera. In that shot of the camera tracking them through the bar, oh my gosh, it was so cool. Alright, so the legs come from the 2024 Age of Ultron Hawkeye. The torso is the flipped around torso of Scarlet Witch, so thankfully LEGO's given us like 50 million of those, so that's good, relatively common. The arms are black with red printing from the Surfer guy from the collectible minifigure
This video
series,
will contain spoilers for the latest episodes of Daredevil Born Again, so if you aren't caught up or you care about spoilers, be sure to get caught up, then come back and watch this video.
A lighter red, or somehow those colors could match better, but I do think that this is the best we could do with the pieces that are out there, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. So the Bullseye custom here might be my favorite one from this entire showcase, and I think it is the highest bar set for this series as we go. So I want to try to do a better custom than this, but I do think that this one's going to be the MVP for the series, if I do say so myself. The torso comes from the Hawkeye minifig from 2016 Captain America Civil War. The legs come from the original 2012 version of Hawkeye. Then he's got black arms, black hands, and the balaclava head from the Foot Soldier from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie series. So I love the way this turned out, and let me know what you guys think. Alright, up next we have Wilson Fisk and Vanessa, and of course Fisk, as he rises to mayor, is wearing a lot more black suits than his iconic white suits, but when we see Vanessa, she's wearing white, so I wanted to have the characters contrast, especially with where it seems their story is going in the overall narrative. So Fisk is super, super easy, probably the easiest custom to make in this entire showcase, with just black legs, a regular torso there with a suit on it. You could literally use any black suit you have in your collection, and the head is an angry clone head from Star Wars. For Vanessa, she's relatively simple to make too. She's got white legs, the torso from Pepper Potts from Iron Man 3 back in 2013, the head from Captain Marvel from the MCU, and some long brown hair. Okay, up next we have Benjamin Poindexter in his jumpsuit before he gets sentenced, so I gave him black handcuffs here, which come from the CMF series, with a jumpsuit from the Joker from DC. The head comes from Frodo from Lord of the Rings. I like that he kind of has that 1,000-yard stare there. And, of course, we've just got some regular hair to finish the figure out. I guess this one's pretty simple, too, although that Frodo head hasn't been in sets in like a decade. But still, you know, relatively small amount of pieces used here.
Okay, so here we have Kirsten McDuffie and Detective Cherry. Now, for Detective Cherry, there are not a ton of flesh-tone Lego heads that have glasses, let alone ones that have just a little bit of facial hair. So the head I went with here is actually Franklin from Lego Jurassic World. I am open to changing this, though, if you guys have a better suggestion. Just looking through my parts, I thought it was the best, but I also don't know if he's quite old enough looking. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. The torso is just a classic Indiana Jones torso with some powder blue legs. Then, of course, for Kirsten McDuffie, I used this head that came from the Pharrell Williams Over the Moon set with some black hair, then matching hands, and the torso from Lois Lane from Batman vs. Superman with some black legs. Okay, so Heather is up next, and the design I went for here is kind of her casual look that she's, wearing the clothes that she wears when she goes on the dates with Matt. Of course, we do see some more professional stuff, and as the season rolls out, maybe I'll try a different outfit. But just to get us started here, I used one of the torso and leg combos from the Weasley twins from the Harry Potter collectible minifigure series. I really like this big hair piece. It's come in a lot of different places. And the head, of course, comes from the Pharrell Williams Over the Moon set, and I put hands to match. Here we have BB, which I really thought was cool to see a continuation of the Ben Urich storyline and, family. That was really cool and unexpected, to be honest. So what I did here is just use some gray legs with the Knight Rider torso. The head comes from the foosball soccer table set, I believe, and the hair is from Shuri from Black Panther, although it's come in lots of other places, and I made sure to get hands to match. And finally, we have Hector. Now, of course, we do briefly see him as White Tiger, but I am going to wait just a little bit longer into the series until we see a better look at the White Tiger suit, because we only really see it on that TV, and it's kind of small and grainy, so I'm assuming that we'll see White Tiger suit up for real, and I'll wait until then. But to build Hector, I used gray legs with the torso from Ian Malcolm from Jurassic World, with the head from The Mandalorian with matching hands. Those hands can be found on the torso from what is his name? Dom Toretto. As you could tell, I'm filming this right after the episode. It's like 11:30 at night right now. And of course, we've got the buzz cut hair up top. All right, so because everything basically takes place in the courtroom for the most part, we do have Matt and Hector in their suits. Now, to be completely honest with you, you could really use any kind of suits you have in your collection. Like, for example, Matt's suit in this episode is a lot darker than what we see in my custom here, but this custom, I feel like, really encompasses Matt Murdock. So just for the whole series as a whole, I really like using the torso from 2009 Last Crusade Indiana Jones with the legs from Ron from the Harry Potter CMF Series 2. The head comes from 2012 Hawkeye with a short white pole for his walking stick, and of course flat top brown hair. Then we've got a flat top Buzz for Hector with the head from the Mandalorian from Star Wars. The torso actually comes from Walt Disney from the camera set, and the hands are just put there to match the head skin tone, but I got these hands from Dom Toretto from the Fast and Furious Speed Champions set. All right, now that brings us to White Tiger, who, unbelievably, I thought we were going to see a lot more of this season, but obviously, as sad as it is to say, that will not be the case. But we've only gotten one official White Tiger minifigure ever, and it was from the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, meaning that it was the female version. So the torso here is from the female version of White Tiger. That being said, looking across my superhero collection tonight, I really don't know that I have a better torso to go with. So if you guys have any suggestions in the comments down below, let me know. But overall, I still think the torso works really well. Of course, that gives you the amulet around the neck, and of course, the mask, I would tell you to use regardless. So overall, I do think that this is a solid choice, but obviously not optimal for, well, obvious reasons. The only other update I made was actually using the legs from Aaron Cash from the DC Lego Batman movie. And of course, I don't want to leave you guys without any options. So what do you guys think about the torso from the Dragonborn Paladin from the D&D series? Of course, you would want to switch those arms out for white arms and hands, but that torso is a little bit more common because, well, that figure was just out in the D&D series not long ago, and I think it works kind of well with having an amulet. It's not perfect, but I'd like to hear what you guys think. And sadly, of course, Hector is shot at the end of the episode, and the person that we see shoot them does have a Punisher logo on their chest, but we don't actually see their face, so we don't actually know that it was Frank Castle that did it. And with all the corrupt cops with the Punisher tattoos and emblems and everything, I think that where they're going to go with this is it's just somebody that put on a Punisher skull, and Matt's going to confront Frank. And then, of course, he's going to say he didn't do it, and that's going to bring Frank into the series. That's my speculation anyways. Maybe it really was Frank. I don't know. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and use the official Punisher torso for obvious reasons, with black arms, black hands. I gave him a revolver from back in the Lone Ranger days, and these are the tactical legs that come from the CMF Spy because I think they work really well for Frank. Then, of course, the head is just a black head with a black hood on, since, you know, they have a hood up and we don't actually see who it is. And then, you know, Lego's never really given us a trench coat piece, but I just had this idea that using this cape piece from the CMF series Graduate figure works really, really well as a trench coat. I've literally never thought to use that as a trench coat. So in tonight's video, I will say that's what I would suggest. So we finally saw Frank Castle return to the MCU. I never thought I'd see the day. It's absolutely amazing, but he isn't really the Punisher here. I mean, he is, but he's not like suited up with the skull and all that, so pretty simple to make him here. The torso comes from Dom Toretto from the Fast and Furious Speed Champion set, with some short sleeve black arms that come from Ethan Hunt from Lego Dimensions, with some regular tan hands, black legs, the head from General Zod from the Lego Batman CMF series, and some long black hair to finish the look. And at the end of the episode, we see Muse in action. Now, we don't really get what I would consider like a good full look at the costume. It's really more close-up shots. So as the series evolves, I will evolve the custom. So if you guys have suggestions, you know, leave them in the comments. And as the weeks roll by, of course, you know, maybe the best ones can make it in and roll out some shout-outs. But that being said, for Muse, I used regular black legs, the flipped-around torso from Nick Fury from the Captain Marvel sets, with the white arms and dark red hands, well, for obvious reasons. Then the head comes from Mr. Knight from the Lego Marvel CMF Series 2, and he's got a black beanie on there to finish the look. So for the last several episodes, I've been building Matt Murdock the same way, but he literally takes his tie off in this, so I thought to give you an alternate option here. I used this torso from the German soccer player Coach from the CMF series from several years back. Here in the United States, he is pretty difficult to get, but if you guys have any suggestions on how you would make Matt Murdock, other than this way or the way I've been making him in previous episodes, of course, let me know in the comments. I never in a million years would have guessed Kamala Khan's dad would be Matt's sidekick for this episode, but it was really cool seeing Yusuf Khan. I was blown away, did not see that coming. And of course, to build him, I used these black legs with the torso from Iron Man 3 Aldrich Killian. Then, of course, I put hands to match the head from Commissioner Gordon from the Lego Batman movie. Now, coincidentally, Yusuf does have a beard, so this might not be the best head to use. I do think that the head from Gordon from The Batman could work too, but I think that there's pros and cons to using both, so let me know in the comments which version you prefer. I don't think we're going to see him pop up again, but it would be cool to have a discussion about it, so let me know what you guys would pick. And just to add a little bit of fun, you know, we do have those robbers there that are wearing the balaclavas, and then, of course, Matt wears the red one for the fight scene in the alleyway, and Lego hasn't given us a ton of eyes-only balaclava heads like the one that's here. In fact, this head came on the old Ferrari racers from the early 2000s and Wrestler Spider-Man, crazy enough. That being said, I just used this flipped-around torso from Jeff Goldblum from the Jurassic sets, but any black torso would work, with tan hands and gray legs. Basically, I just wanted to throw this in there in case you wanted to recreate a scene from this episode or something, but I don't think that this one is super essential overall. You know, in previous episodes, I hadn't built Angela Del Toro, but considering she's basically a main character in episode 6, I'll go ahead and make her here. So this torso comes from Lego Jurassic World. I think that it's been used maybe in some other places. Not sure. I'm sure someone will comment if so. The head has come in multiple places too, I believe. I got it from the Pharrell Over the Moon set. Then, of course, I just gave her regular black hair and gray legs to keep it simple. Now that we got a better look at Muse, I did build him slightly differently, because last week we didn't really get to see what his full suit looked like, but this week we did. So for this figure, I went ahead and used the flipped around torso from young Nick Fury from Captain Marvel. Then of course I kept those white arms, but this time he's got black hands. There are some dual molded arms that have long black gloves on them from the, crazy science professor from the Halloween CMF, but sadly I don't have that, so I can't use it. The head comes from Mr. Knight from the Lego Marvel CMF. I just gave him a black beanie, and he's got dual molded legs with gray on top and black on bottom. For this episode, I did decide to do a slight upgrade to the actual Daredevil outfit. This is just a little bit different than what I'd been using before, so, at least it gives us some options depending on the pieces you have in your collection. The torso is actually the flipped around torso from the official Daredevil minifigure, but since he doesn't have the DD logo on in the show, at least as of yet. Hopefully he gets it someday. We gotta use a torso that doesn't have that to make it accurate. Then, of course, he's got the head and the horn piece from that official Daredevil from the Daily Bugle, with the actual red batons from that as well, dark red arms, black hands, and the legs from Hawkeye from the 2024 Age of Ultron set. So, to build Wilson Fisk and Vanessa, we did use quite a few parts here. So, for Vanessa, I used this red skirt piece with the torso from Willie Scott from 2009's Indiana Jones Temple of Doom Shanghai Chase. I'm sure there are other red torsos you could use. I just love Indiana Jones and will use any excuse to use any of those pieces. So if you have a better recommendation or a different one, let me know in the comments. Moving up, the head is just a regular head from Captain Marvel with some brown ponytail hair. And for Wilson Fisk, I used the legs from Alice in Wonderland from the Disney CMF, with the torso from Bruce Wayne from the Lego Batman movie, the arms with the cufflinks, since Wilson loves his cufflinks, that come from the Chef character from the Lego CMF series, with an angry clone trooper head. For Matt and Heather, these were really simple. The torso for Matt actually comes from the Gustav Eiffel minifigure, although I believe it was used elsewhere. So yeah, you just basically need a tuxedo shirt, and we'll be looking at another tuxedo option here in just a moment. But black legs, the head from Hawkeye from Avengers, and some flat top hair will let you build Matt. Then for Heather, I used the torso from Marion Ravenwood from the 2023 Indiana Jones sets. Are you sensing a theme here, ladies and gentlemen? She's got a white skirt piece on there, and then arms that match this head, which I believe came from the Pharrell Williams set, as mentioned in previous videos, and some long brown hair to finish it out. Up next, we have Tony Dalton, aka the Swordsman, who we first saw in the Hawkeye series, and he actually appeared earlier in this season of Daredevil, but I didn't make him at that point, so I'm making him tonight. That being said, for Tony Dalton, I used this hair from Doctor Strange to add a little bit of gray on the sides. The head comes from Quiltman from the Lego Batman movie, and the torso comes from Alfred from the Lego Batman Shadow Box, although I do believe that this torso has been used elsewhere, but let me know in the comments if you know where else, or if you have any other tuxedo with a bow tie ideas for what we could use here. And finally, we have Bullseye in his cop/security guard outfit here. And oh my gosh, that ending to this episode was crazy. For this, I used a dark blue ball cap, the head from Frodo Baggins. It looks great with that 1,000-yard stare. I used one of these rifles from Star Wars so that it has the scope on it, with a torso from the Lego Batman movie police officers, and black legs to finish the look. Well, as we've gotten to the final episode here, I think I've really landed on my preferred suit for Daredevil, and that's using the dual molded legs from Star-Lord with the dark red on top and black boots on bottom, with dark red arms and black hands, then the flipped around torso and head and the horn piece from the official Daredevil from the Daily Bugle, because of course the front has the DD logo on it, and he doesn't have that in the show, but the rest does look really good and strikes a nice balance between the dark red and the bright red that we see on the suit in the show. So it only took the entire season to get here, but I do like this design in the end. It's simplistic, it looks like the show, and I'm really happy with it. Seeing Karen pop
pop up in this episode was such a great surprise. I love the role that she played, and of course, having her bookend the series in the first and final episodes of this season was really great. Thankfully, the figure is pretty simple to make, all things considered. The head comes from Elizabeth Swann from years ago, although there are lots of heads that you can use for Karen. Of course, she's got that long hair here. The torso comes from Claire Dearing from Jurassic World, and you could just use dark blue legs for the jeans, but I have these legs that were from the Build a Minifigure station at the Lego store, which are actual jean prints, so if you have something like that, I'd recommend it, but of course, just regular blue legs will work just as well. Yeah, so with Kingpin literally crushing somebody's head on screen and them showing it, knowing what Lego says about, the most popular, most recent iterations of characters determining who's going to be in Lego sets, I think we can safely say we're not getting a Kingpin minifig anytime soon. But thankfully, he is simple enough to make. Of course, the torso and legs that I'm using here come from Mr. Knight from the Lego Marvel CMF Series 2. Of course, you don't need to do this, but these arms with the cufflinks from the chef from the Lego CMF series are really nice because we know how Wilson Fisk loves his cufflinks. Then, of course, tan hands to match an angry clone trooper head is the most simple way to build the Kingpin. And of course, seeing the Punisher in this episode was so awesome. It was so cool seeing him in action, and with it being on Disney Plus, I thought maybe they'd shy away from the violence, but no, this was the most violent thing I think we've seen in the MCU to date. Maybe that's a little bit of recency bias, but honestly, I think that Punisher scenes here were maybe the most violent in the MCU. I mean, I know the old Netflix shows were pretty violent too, but those were always like, are they in the MCU? Are they not? But now that this is definitively there, that's what I think. But let me know what you think in the comments. Anyways, to build a custom of the figure, of course, I've got the torso from the Punisher from the Daily Bugle, as well as the head from there. He's just got regular black hair, although years and years ago, I actually shaved off the side of the hair and just gave him like the flat top haircut, and I did think that that looked really, really good. But at the end of the day, I don't want to break the purist method any more than I have to, so let's keep it simple and just use this black hair. The short sleeve black arms came from Ethan Hunt from the Lego Dimensions set. For Mission Impossible. Of course, he's got a little gun and a knife for this episode. Then I gave him black hips and the printed legs from the Night Monkey character of Spider-Man from Far From Home. You could just use regular black legs. Of course, there are other utility legs like from Hawkeye that you could use, but I just like the way that these look, bringing a little bit more gray into the complexion of the suit, if you will, and I really, really like the way that that lands. But with that being said, that's all the characters for the finale, so let's wrap everything up now. Alright guys, be sure to hit like and subscribe down below if you haven't already. Let me know which customs you think turned out the best over this entire showcase, and I'll see you guys on the next video, and until next time, build on.